Okay, welcome back to Art with Mr. O. This is Bird's Eye View of the City Part 2, 1-point perspective. So we have the tops of the buildings, they go down to the vanishing point, and then we have the bottom of the buildings. And now we're going to look and see what it is we do next. So we're going to put the windows on the buildings and the details on the side walls. So the basic rule is anything that would go from up in the air straight down towards the ground would be going to the vanishing point. Now, just to add something that's a little bit odd that demonstrates that point, let's say that right here on the corner of this triangular building there was a flagpole or an antenna, and that went straight up. Well, that means that you have to line up the bottom of that, where that pole is going to be attached to the building with a vanishing point, and then draw away from the vanishing point. So it seems a little bit strange the first time you do it. Let's do one right here just so you can kind of see. So let's say there's an antenna right there in the corner of that building. So I line it up with the vanishing point and I draw it up away from the vanishing point. So I know it doesn't seem quite right at first, but nope, that's the way that works. Okay, so let's do one of the normal buildings. Let's do this building right here, just a regular rectangular building. And let's make columns of windows going down the building as if it's one of those all glass skyscrapers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at this side of the top, and I'm going to visually split it in two and put a little mark there, and then I'm going to split each half in two. So essentially that splits that wall into quarters. And so now I just go from those points and I line them up with the vanishing point, and I just draw them down the building to the bottom. Line it up with the next one, line it up with the vanishing point, draw it down to the bottom of the building, line it up with the vanishing point, the next one, down to the bottom of the building. So you can see those now look like rows of windows going down the building. So I'm going to do the same thing over here and put a mark in the middle, put a mark in the middle of each half, and just to be consistent, this particular building looks like the proportions would be about right. I'm going to split each of those quarters, so we'll have 8 rows of windows on this one. And again, I simply line the point up. I like to put my pencil lead on it and then move it so it lines up with the vanishing point. Put the pencil lead on the mark, move the ruler against it, line the other end up with the vanishing point, draw the line. Same thing again. Now, it's going to take a long time for me to do all of these buildings, so I will show you a couple techniques and then I'll come back with another video for part 3, and you'll see that I will have probably finished most of those buildings, the details and such. Part 3 will consist of sidewalks and ground details and things like that. So there's all of the columns of windows going down the building. Now, quite often we can see the lines between the floors. They go this way. The lines between the floors go the same direction as the top and bottom lines of that wall that they're on. So I'm going to decide to go down about here, and that would be a line that goes this direction. And so that puts a line between the floors. Now, the issue is, as I go down the building, I'm getting farther away, so my lines should continue to get slightly closer together. And there are scientific formulas for this, but I just try to make them look like they're getting slightly smaller. By the time you get to the building, or the bottom, they're quite small. So you can see they get small, they get closer together as they go down. So now, every place that met the corner, now I go this other direction across the other wall. And I gotta watch that I keep this horizontal or vertical depending on what the top and bottom of the wall are, so I don't start going all slanted. That can be a problem when you, that one was a little slanted, when you get to the bottom of the building. I went past the edge there a little bit. So that's one way to do the windows on the bottom of a building. Another way, some buildings, let's say like this triangular building, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make a couple marks and try to evenly space them. Some buildings have large vertical columns, and so I'll show you what that looks like. A lot of times there'll be concrete columns with just a narrow row of windows in between. So you see a lot of buildings like this. One more here. And just try to evenly space them out. So something like that, and that might be shaded in. There's all kinds of different patterns on the buildings. Just remember that all of the lines that would go straight from the ceiling or from the roof down towards the ground have to be lined up with the vanishing point. So some of these might have rows of windows. You know, some of them might have things like that. So what I can show you now is we'll do a couple sidewalks. If you remember, these two buildings right here, we decided to make it look like they were on the same street. The three buildings actually. So I'm gonna just kind of go out from the bottom of the buildings a little bit and just kind of make a sidewalk along the edges. Now, the sidewalk would go past the building and then probably, especially if there was a street there, they would go behind the building. This one I'm gonna make go in front of the building. There probably would be some sort of drive or something there. Then it continues on. So then you can take your straight edge, or you know, if you can do it straight enough, you just put the cracks in the sidewalk and they go either horizontal or vertical. Oh, that sidewalk. I'm going to make this sidewalk go straight across, and there would be some sort of maybe a plaza or something between those two buildings. So you can do the sidewalks like that. You might put little vent fans up on the top of the buildings. This the piano building here, I'll show you how I would do that. What I'm doing is about every 1/4 inch I'm making a line, and it doesn't matter if it's curved, because the curve will naturally it will just, you'll see what I mean, it will just kind of adjust itself as long as I go to the vanishing point from top to bottom, line it up each time. Some people think that you just go diagonal and it makes it look kind of odd. as we get to the side here. There you go. So that goes down, and now the lines that go between the floors would have to follow that curve, and they get either closer as you go down the building or farther apart as you go up the building. So something like that. They're not quite spaced the way I would like them to be spaced, but maybe we'll just add a couple more here and fix it. That's pretty good there. So there you go. You can work on some of the sidewalks. We'll show you some more of the ground detail when we come back, and you can work on getting the buildings done, the sides of the buildings done, and I will show you some examples when we get back. So remember, practice, practice, practice makes better, and have fun with your art.